Hey guys, to help run the forums, host the website, and travel, we've introduced a universal service fee for in-depth coverage, including this video. My goal is to be unbiased and transparent. It's a privilege to serve you. This is not an endorsement. Let's get into it. Hey guys, hanging out in Southern California, but it's kind of a rainy day. My buddy Sam's got his raincoat on. Thank you for being out here with me. Checking out some new AddMotoR products. This one's really got me excited. It's the M-60 L7. It's got a 750 watt Bafang geared hub motor in the rear. Very, very zippy and capable. 77 pounds on this bike, and that's including this optional backrest. Apparently you can get these pegs right now, but this model might come stock with them, which is pretty cool. Without the backrest, your friend could potentially scoot off the back, so be careful. I think it's like 80 bucks for these. And then they even have like some pannier bags or things that they're gonna sell aftermarket, or like a rack. I haven't seen those in person, but what I'm looking at here is just beautiful. I love the colors. It's very bright and kind of cheerful. We've got alloy fenders, gonna keep you dry, and a suspension fork. I definitely appreciate that. 32 millimeter stanchions on this thing, probably about 63 millimeters of travel with, hear that, the clicks? So that's like a compression clicker with lockout. Very nice, because you might not need a suspension fork. I mean, this already has the 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires, and that gives you a lot of comfort, especially with these nubs. It just, you know, you hear like bzzz, but each nub acts as a little bit of a shock absorber. And so we got this parking lot over here. That's the best we could do. It's not really a mountain situation today, but you probably could ride this in like loamy, soft terrain, maybe even some sand and snow. You'd have to take the tire pressure way, way down. They usually say, yeah, here it is, so 5 to 30 PSI. So 30 is a little bit higher pressure. A lot of the other fat tire bikes say 20. So this one could be a little bit more full. That's gonna be a bit more efficient, maybe not quite as comfortable. And then these are the Kenna Crusade Sport. So this is a nicer tire. I was really impressed with the price point on this bike too. It's like $17.99. I've seen other like banana seat style electric bikes in recent years. Seems to be a popular trend. And a lot of times like, it's kind of like, well, you can't raise or lower the saddle. How comfortable is it really to pedal? But with a longer saddle, you can put yourself back here and then your feet are forward. You can stabilize yourself easily. This thing is very comfortable, very cushy. We've got a tool-free adjustable stem, mid-rise bars that sweep back, ergonomic grips. It's actually a pretty comfortable ride. Now, I still probably rely on the throttle a little bit when riding, but it's got this 12 magnet, relatively high resolution cadence sensor. Cadence sensors tend to switch on and off. It's sort of like there's no like smooth ramp up. So for that purposes, it's nice to have a throttle because you can just ease into it. Maybe you're stabilizing yourself and a buddy, having a throttle to get going, or in the sand or the snow. Definitely my preference. With a longer frame like this, you can see that the chain is a little bit longer. It might be bouncing around a little bit. It could come into contact with that chainstay, which will nick it up over time. And it doesn't have like a sticker slap guard or a neoprene slap guard. So if I was to get this bike, I mean, this is brand new, it's very shiny, beautiful looking. I would probably take some box tape, like clear tape, and just put one piece over this, or maybe a couple pieces, kind of line them up. It's clear, that way it's not gonna like mess up the aesthetics of the bike, but it's gonna keep, add some protection to that. Another point while we're back here looking at this area of the bike, when these pegs are down, if you're walking the bike and your foot is right here and you're stepping, that could run into your Achilles heel. You could run yourself over, especially if you accidentally bump the throttle. So I would definitely put those in the up position at all times, unless you know you're gonna be riding with a buddy. Again, I'm gonna try to demonstrate that. You got your foot here, you're walking the bike forward, and then you're stepping up like this, and then ow, it could kind of hit your ankle. Thankfully, they do fold up, so it's like, I don't know how bad it's actually gonna be, but if it doesn't fold up, it could really push your foot forward. And that's not just unique to this bike, it's kind of any bike that has running boards or a peg or something like that. I love that they've got a Derailleur Guard back here, because a lot of the time when you get a bike like this, AddMotoR, you're probably getting it online. They're shipping it direct, there's a little bit of assembly required, and this derailleur is one of the more sensitive bits. They've gone with Shimano Altus. That's one step up from entry level in Shimano. So it's like Shimano Tourney and then Altus. So maybe a little bit more reliable. It's tucked in pretty well. It's protected by the frame. And then this is the motor power cable coming up the side of the bike. So you also want that to be protected when it's in shipping or if the bike tips or something. So I love that they've got this Derailleur Guard right here. Pretty basic drivetrain though. It's like 14 to 28 tooth on the cassette. That's plenty for if you're cruising around at like 0 to 20 miles per hour. It might not be the best for climbing. Usually it's nice to have like an 11 to 32 cassette, or 11 to 36 or 42. So the bigger that ring is, like the high number we're talking about, in this case it's 28. 42, much bigger, it's gonna give you a better mechanical advantage, but it's geared fine for like around the city, just for cruising and stuff. I love that they've got a plastic chain guide because that's gonna keep your pants a little bit more protected, and I am wearing pants because of the weather today. It doesn't have a full chain cover or anything, and again, that's a longer chain. It might be bouncing around. Your passenger could potentially get a little bit of chain grease or something. There's no real solution to that. I'm just trying to be real thorough here and thoughtful. I love the pedal choice here. These are Wellgo alloy platform, a little bit wider, a little bit grippier. It's very nice, especially if you're just setting your feet on those and using the throttle so you don't slip off. And they're gonna be a little bit tougher if the bike does tip. Again, 77 pounds, it could scratch up the pedals a little bit and maybe start to mar up the saddle or the grips. And these grips, even though they're ergonomic and they match the saddle, they're kind of basic. They aren't locking, they won't twist, or they will twist if you really bear down on them, although they feel pretty good right now. I think they have like some tape on the inside. And then that stem, you know, there is like a bolt inside of there. You might want to tighten it over time if you feel it's getting loose, because over time it'll strip, it'll get even looser. And I like that it's here on a riser, plus a little bit of a additional height added just to bring that body position up. Like, look at that. See how that's nice and upright? Then your head's going to be able to spot traffic or talk to your friends. You're not going to be leaning forward. It's just a really comfortable bike. I think you'll see that once we get on. And the suspension fork is nice, because there are moments where, you know, you can't really stand up as easily because there's no seat height adjustment. So you might be kind of knees bent sitting in that saddle. You're relying a little bit more on the suspension and the cushion. It does have preload adjust as well. So if you're someone who's really heavy or the bike is very loaded, you could dial in preload and preload the springs so that it's not bouncing around on you. For me, it's set up just fine as it is. 180 millimeter mechanical disc brake up front. We got the Tektro 4-finger levers with the rubberized edge. I love the integrated bell. I love that these both have motor inhibitors because, again, 12 magnets, that used to be decent, but now we have multi-sensors and torque sensors and stuff. So this is a little bit like sluggish sometimes. When you stop pedaling, the motor's going to continue going unless you pull those brakes. So it's really nice that they have motor inhibitors. And then we've got another mechanical disc brake back here, along with these little rubber caps. And mechanical disc brakes are a little bit easier to adjust yourself, like tool-free. Well, not tool-free, but like hydraulic disc brakes, a lot of times I'll go to a shop and have them bled. I like that there's no cable going like all the way from way up there back, because that's kind of a long way. It takes a little bit of hand effort, and over time, the way these are positioned, water can kind of drip into the housing and dust, and then it can start to get a little bit like more friction happening. So you can go in here, you can adjust these brakes using just standard hex wrenches and stuff and kind of tighten them up, loosen them up over the time. I guess those are the trade-offs. Like, they're hitting a really good price point here, but there are some trade-offs with hardware. I like where the kickstand is mounted because it's plenty clear of that left crank arm and pedal. It's an adjustable length kickstand, and I really like the tires that they chose. Well, not the tires, the rims, right? These are cast, and it completely like encloses the hub motor. So it's a pretty nice setup. Like, you're not gonna have to worry about truing the wheels. Spokes and stuff, they can kind of get loose over time, especially if you like take a hard impact. But these cast rims, they're really tough, and I think the bike looks pretty cool. And I'm just really impressed with how much it weighs, because I thought it was gonna weigh a lot more than it did, like with the fenders and everything. So it's a great setup. You've even got an integrated headlight that runs off the battery, and it looks like it timed out. I'm gonna show you that in a minute. The reason that the rear light is still active is because this uses its own like standard AA batteries like inside. You have to take that off and replace the batteries occasionally. So if you were on a ride and let's say we're like rushing inside because, oh, it's raining, we got to get out of the rain. If you leave the bike outside, you can power the bike off. Try to remember to turn that rear light off though too. See, there's a little button right here, because if you don't and you're eating, having fun with your friends for a couple hours, you come out, it's slowly draining that battery. So that's going to be, it's just not as convenient or integrated as like lights that run off the main rechargeable battery. That's one of my complaints, or an area of possible improvement. It's just a compromise they made to save money. And then another complaint here is that there's a physical on-off switch on the battery, which is nice for kind of like reliability and safety, but it's a two-step process. You get on the bike, you have to click the on-off switch, and then you have to power up the display. Before we get into that though, I've turned it off. I want to show you how this battery is connected. So like I unlock it like that, then slide this up. See if I can do it. There we go. And it's got this nice track on the other side. This is a 48 volt, 11.6 amp hour battery pack. Pretty good. It's about 6.9 pounds. I was weighing it earlier. And then check out this track. See how it's got 3 bolts, not just 2. That's a little bit more sturdy, which is something I really appreciate. It's not just like a kit or something that they tried to do aftermarket. This is like a purpose-built e-bike, and you can see that in the way that cables and things are routed through the frame. It looks a little bit nicer. So I put that on. There's a little power LED indicator. Press the power button, and then we do the display here by holding the M for a second. It boots up. Before I forget, I do want to call out that I believe it comes with this charger, D-Power, and it is a 3 amp charger. Weighs about 2 pounds, so it's a little bit faster than normal. Sometimes you get these chargers that are like 2 amps, and when you have a higher capacity battery, it's nice to have it fill quickly. Yeah, I think a lot of their bikes share the same charger, which is kind of neat, sort of interchangeable, but you'll notice there's a different battery design on that AddMotoR bike. They have just a huge lineup of bikes. So we've powered on the display, again, by holding that M button over here. There's up and down, which changes level of assist. 0, which no assist, no throttle. So it's completely off. You're just pedaling this around like a regular bike. And then as soon as we go to pedal assist 1, the throttle becomes active and pedal assist becomes active. So for me, it would have been kind of nice if you could have throttle mode at 0, just because sometimes I don't want to accidentally have my pedaling activate pedal assist. But I think maybe it's a safety thing. But then on the other hand, if the bike starts in assist level 1, it's like it's ready to go. If I bump the throttle right now, like look at that, the bike's going to take off. So I don't know, if anyone at AddMotoR is watching this, I feel like it'd be nice if the bike started in 0, and then it'd be nice if the throttle worked in 0. Or some of the other bikes that they sell, they have like a little on-off button, so you can deactivate the throttle, which is nice. Okay, so coming back over here to the display panel, if I hold down, walk mode activates, which is kind of nice if you get a flat tire or you just don't feel comfortable riding. If we hold M and up, backlighting happens. Did you see that? It got a little bit brighter. So there's a little like light icon. I'm going to show you that. I think it's the Trendo light from Spaninga on the front. It's only 10 lux, but hey, it's better than nothing. It points where you steer, but it is mounted to the lowers of the suspension, so it could bounce a little bit. Then we come back here, we've got 5 bars on that battery, so 20% increments, and it is adjustable angle, so hopefully there's less glare now. And then it says odometer up here, but if I press M, it goes to trip meter. So those are the 2 readouts. Speed, it's in miles per hour, but we can switch that to kilometers, and I'll show you how in a second. And then, let's see, we can also change from speed to average speed or max speed. So speed just means like the current speed. So I'm gonna go back to current speed. Down here we have pedal assist levels, it goes all the way up to 5. And then there's sort of different readouts. So it's like eco, power, speed, and then watts. So watts is like how hard the motor's working. There is a little, USB port down here. It's full-size USB port, type A, but I think it only puts out 5 volt, 500 milliamp, compared to like, for iPhones, you kind of need 5 volt, 1 amp, like 1,000 milliamps. I tried my iPhone on it earlier, didn't really work. So maybe for Android or other portable devices, it's nice to have, but hopefully in the future they can boost that. And then I'll try to show you see if this is, my hands are a little bit cold now. Try to slide that down. There we go. So I slide it down, and now look at that. Look how adjustable this is. So I can kind of angle it forward like this a little bit if we want to. Get a little bit more reach if you're someone who's tall, but then they go down a little bit. Try to lock that into place. Boom, there we go. And let's see, were there any other things? So we got walk mode, changing the different levels of assist, up and down for the lights. I think that's it. I've acknowledged that I'm rushing a little bit because I'm getting wet. And then we have the shifters up here. So 7 speeds. It's a thumb shifter, not my favorite. I prefer trigger shifters, but a lot of times the housing on these throttles, they get in the way, so you can't do trigger shifters. So that's fine. That's pretty standard, especially for the price. Like, I tend to be a little bit more understanding when a bike is cheap, right? Like, you're not having to spend as much money, and frankly, the performance is still really good. You're getting a lot of power, you're getting a high capacity battery pack, and you know, compared to some of the other offerings on the market that are this style, this thing is actually way, way cheaper. And they do ship for free in the contiguous USA. So I appreciate that. I think I'm gonna hop on this thing now. I'm gonna stow the pegs real quick here just to be a good example. There it is. There we go. Awesome. Highest level of assist, I'm gonna pedal, and then you can see how quickly pedal assist activates. And I'll be right back, Sam. Nice. Pretty easy to get up to 20 miles per hour on a bike with a 750 watt motor. Definitely zippy. And I actually prefer to use the throttle sometimes just because it eases in. It's not quite as like abrupt. So I'm gonna do that this time. Just easing in, look at that. Real nice and slow. There we go. And it feels very stable because of those big fat tires. Got the 180 millimeter disc brake working really well. Oh boy. I'm gonna take it down to level 1 this time and see how that feels. See if it's smooth. Yeah, smoother than I was expecting. I was looking at another one of their products earlier today, and it felt a little like go, stop. You know, this is it eases into it, and that's nice when you're on a bike. Like, look at this. I definitely am not getting full leg extension. Maybe if I scoot back though, like now that I'm way back in the saddle on the banana seat, my reach is a little bit long, and you know, back to that adjustable angle stem. But now I'm getting better leg extension and just looking awesome here. You can still kind of cruise along, no hands. Like, that's pretty sweet. Well, boy. I am a big fan of like fat tires and suspension and stuff. So this bike's definitely a lot of fun for me. I'm having a good time with this. Let's see if maybe we can get 2 people on this thing. So you have to kind of take a big step. This only comes in like a high step frame, so you might need to be a little bit more flexible to get it right. And then this is where the throttle is going to come in handy. Okay, there we go. It's feeling pretty stable. And again, I'd attribute that to the big tires and stuff. How much do you weigh, man?
135 pounds.
That's how much I weigh. We weigh the same amount. So, you know, right now we're rocking like 270 pounds and the bike is doing fine. And it actually feels pretty good. So nice to have the bigger disc brakes. You know, it would be better if they were hydraulic, but coming back to that price, this pretty comfortably seats 2 people, and the motor is not having a problem. Like, we're going pretty fast and through water. Got those fenders. Oh yeah. Maybe the front fender doesn't give you quite as much coverage as you'd really want, but you know, it's better than nothing. Okay. And then we stabilized the bike. Look at that. No problem. Like, I was able to stop. I'm not on tippy toes or anything like that. I have like a 31 inch inseam. I weigh 135 pounds. I'm 5'9". So just to give you an idea of what this bike looks like. Okay guys, you're way up on that like rear rack optional backrest thing. It's a good position because you can see these little pegs, and there's the 48 tooth steel chainring with the plastic guide that I was talking about, standard 170 millimeter crank arms. And then back here we've got that 14 to 28 tooth 7-speed cassette Shimano Altus. I'm just gonna pedal around and wanted to give you a close-up, right? So you can see and hear that motor. It might sound a little bit zippier because you're so close to it. It's a planetary geared hub motor. They tend to be zippy. They freewheel efficiently. They're compact, and you get a lot of torque, but they just have more noise because there's the planetary gears inside. Let's see what else. I like the cast rims, and they say Bafang, so that must be, you know, that's the manufacturer of the motor too. So it's neat that they make all of the wheel and everything. And then on the other side is that 180 millimeter mechanical disc brake, 180s front and rear, which is really nice given how heavy this bike is. 77 pounds is definitely more than most e-bikes, but I was expecting a little bit more, just considering it has suspension and the fenders and everything. And I keep like, I'm really surprised. Like, this is my magnet that I use to rubberize so it won't scratch frames, and these are aluminum. Like, I'm so used to seeing steel, but aluminum alloy is really nice because it's not going to rust if it gets scratched. It's maybe not quite as like sturdy, strong as steel, but they haven't been vibrating or anything. They're just kind of like minimalist fenders anyway. They don't go the whole way. It's been working out really well. Here we go. Stoked. I really like this bike. I didn't actually hear the chain making contact, but that was one of my concerns, that in the higher gears where you're on a smaller sprocket, the chain's close and it could slap into that arm on the right. But it's comfortable, it's fun, it zips along. There's a little bit of delay in the cadence sensor when you start and stop, but with those brake lever motor inhibitors, you know, it's just a lot of fun. And I also wanted to say that with the smaller diameter wheels, these are 20 by 2.4, maybe effectively like a 24-inch wheel, they give you a mechanical advantage because this is a hub motor. So if you have to move like a really wide wheel, that's less of a mechanical advantage. So given that this is smaller, you're actually getting a lot of strength and maybe efficiency from the motor. They accelerate really fast and they also decelerate faster. And that's the same thing for the disc brake. So 180 millimeter disc brake relative to a 24-inch wheel it's a lot easier for it to stop. And I was skidding earlier. I think because of that, it's just, yeah, it's very effective. Okay guys, we're inside at AddMotor in LA, and these are some of the bikes that I'm planning to look at some point. It's been raining a little bit, and I just came inside and wanted to show you around and give you some idea of what the facility looks like here. You can see there's just a huge variety of bikes. I really like that one. It's kind of got the shark, maybe like World War II battle plane aesthetic going on. Just lots and lots of bikes, bunch of different battery styles, lights. It's a pretty big assortment and just lots of boxes and stuff like that. And this is where the support is. The staff has kind of, you know, wanted to give me space. It's a combination of some English speakers, but predominantly like Mandarin speakers. And so the impression I get is that they're importing these bikes and they're trying to keep that low price point, but they're really going hard to try to offer a lot of variety and just, you know, give you something fun and in some cases extreme, like this one. I'm excited to check that out. That thing is like probably a step above most electric bikes. Interesting. So I hope this gives you some more insight and just some idea of what you might be dealing with. And then, you know, it looks like they're scrapping some bikes, using them for parts and stuff, and, you know, getting it done. So there you go. We're back in the offices now, and I was just looking closer at some of the cabling and the rear axle, and I appreciate that, you know, they've got this, it's threaded, it's like 11.5, and then there's 10 millimeter cutouts, and those go into a vertical dropout, and the motor is actually pushing against those vertical flats. I didn't see a torque arm or anything, and considering that it's such a powerful motor, I think it does have like a torque insert, but sometimes on more powerful bikes you'll actually see like an arm coming out to give you additional strength. I didn't see that. I just wanted to point it out for people, and feel free to chime in if you've had any issues. I haven't noticed anything. It doesn't seem to be rocking, but this is a brand new electric bike. So just getting really technical here and trying to dig in on everything. This is a barrel adjuster right here. So over time, if the gears aren't shifting perfectly, you can tighten or loosen that. And usually you loosen it over time because the cable is stretching, and that way the housing creates a little bit more distance, and it will help to get your gear shifting more easily. And yeah, it doesn't have a barrel adjuster up here, so it's just back there. Hope that helps you. Sweet. That headlight's working pretty well. Go for it. Do the throttle. I think it's the first time he's riding that one. Look at that go. Nice. Yeah. Looking good, buddy. Thank you. Well, guys, it's been a little bit wet, but we had fun. AddMotor's got a bunch of different products out there now. I was pleasantly surprised with like this banana seat model because I haven't really spent a lot of time on these bikes. I did review some from other companies in the past, but I don't think they had suspension, and the seat might not have been as comfortable as this one. So I'm stoked on it. For the full written review, I'll see you guys back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Have fun out there, ride safe, especially in the rain. Chime in if you get that bike, or maybe you have last year's model that I think had like a 500 watt motor. You know, I always appreciate feedback and corrections or insights and stuff. Like, the goal is to get you guys accurate information. I really care about you. Have fun. Take care.